Hey everybody, it's Nathaniel Avila reporting from Greater Orlando, and I'm here with Timbrel Hildebrand reporting from Crowley, Texas. How are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and this is our special Mother's Day episode since we're
Oh, is that
recording
why
it.
you picked Brave?
That was a happy coincidence. I honestly didn't mean
Okay.
that. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Brave, which is a very nice mother daughter film made by Pixar. So, what is your initial thoughts of the film?
Oh, I absolutely love this film. Another home run for Pixar. It's such a good movie, and I think it's particularly interesting that they set it in this like medieval Scotland, so that just adds to the fun. It's just a really good movie.
Yeah, do you think it deserved the Oscar?
Oh, for sure.
All right. So, some backstory on Brave. The backstory of Brave is brief, but kind of a little bit sad-ish, mainly because of what happened with its first director. It was first announced in 2008 as The Bear and the Bow. That was its original title, and it's considered to be Pixar's first fairy tale, quote unquote, as in like the first film that has like fairy tale like aspects, but isn't based on any specific fairy tale. And it was made by and it was supposed to be written and directed by a woman named Brenda Chapman, who considers it a fairy tale with the tradition of Hans Christian Andersen and the Brothers Grimm. And she also drew a lot of inspiration from her own personal relationship with her own daughter. So she conceived the project, and it was announced as the film's director, making it Pixar's first ever female director. So, but unfortunately, in 2010, she was replaced by Mark Andrews after Chapman got into a lot of disagreements between herself and John Lasseter.
Oh, I
So
didn't know about that.
yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. So Chapman actually was very. She took it really hard when she was replaced. She found it very devastating. But later she said that her vision came through in the film anyway, uh, through through Andrews, and she said that she still is very proud of the film, and most importantly, that she is very happy that she stood up for herself against Lasseter. So uh, Chapman also stated in an interview in 2010 that she is still a little bit bittersweet about being taken off of the film because she feels like there's no reason why she had to be kicked off in a creative standpoint, but she felt like it opened more doors for her to have to be kicked out. Well, not kicked out, but replaced, and that's more or less the the brunt of the backstory of Brave. So, what do you think about that story?
I mean that kind of stinks, but I'm glad that she felt that it turned out well. Because usually when stuff like that happens, usually when they switch directors, you end up with a drastic different movie than the one you started out with. So I do think it's significant that she was still happy with it, even though she wasn't attached.
Absolutely, yeah,
So it looks
and
like she took it with class.
yeah, that's all you can ask for in terms of and whenever these things happen, because they kind of happen more often than people would like to say in this industry, especially.
Mm-hmm.
So this film is a really nice. It covers like a lot of themes. Like, is it a mother daughter film? Is it a coming of age story? Is it about subverting your own destiny? And it could be all of those things at the same time. But what I classify it as is it's a very good relationship film between Merida and her mother, Eleanor, which is very complex and was really like it was a very nice way to portray such a relationship between two characters.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what do you think about the that relationship between Merida and Eleanor.
I mean, I think they portray it in a very realistic way. What with the mother, especially within the context of her being a princess and a lot's being expected of her and all that jazz. So, I mean, she's, the mother's overbearing, and it's interesting because you see that, like, both of their characters throughout the film kind of learn that, because, you have that scene at the beginning where they're pretending to talk to each other even though they're not actually talking to each other, and expressing their own opinions in ways they're not able to express when they're actually with each other. So I guess throughout the movie you kind of see how Eleanor kind of starts to understand that Merida, Merida's opinions have some merit. Like, she wants to have a say in what her future is, and Merida also realizes that she realizes how selfish she's been and only being concerned about what she wanted rather than what was best for her kingdom, which is ultimately what her duty is as the princess. So it's kind of a joint character development kind of thing, I think.
Yeah, you could you see their argument from both sides?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which one do you like side with the most?
I mean, it kind of. I mean, I'm not. I mean, obviously, I'd probably, if I was in Merida's shoes, I'd probably feel more like her, not super crazy about being married off and all that jazz. But the mother also has a point that, like, in that time period, that's just kind of the way things were done, and they were trying to keep the kingdom together and all
Mm-hmm.
that jazz. So Merida wasn't addressing it in the most diplomatic way. Instead, she was just kind of like going out there and embarrassing everybody, which wasn't the best way to address things. So, well, the whole thing is all about a lack of communication. So they both have good points in what they're trying to say.
Yeah, like I know that the reason why they wanted to have this marriage was to avoid this civil war that was going to happen amongst the clans. And so that was the stakes that was raised and why that she had to marry. But the film kind of does portray this conflict as kind of jokey in a way, especially that one scene in the when they all started just fighting in a goofy way.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that kind of does? Do you think that kind of downplays the conflict of the film?
Well, no, because I don't think that was what they were trying to get across. I don't think war was imminent. They were already having a peaceful coalition, so this was just a matter of kind of keeping things going. It wasn't a matter of they were on the brink of civil war and marriage was the only way to avoid that. So I thought that the humor was well placed, and it was a nice little. It was nice. I enjoyed it.
Okay. So what do you? Because I know like a big theme of this film is bears. That's a huge symbol. What do you think that
Mm-hmm.
means?
I mean, honestly, I don't know. I mean, it's this big, powerful animal, so I think it just kind of fit what the setting was for the film.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that Merida has has girl power in this film?
I mean, if you mean she's a strong female figure, then yeah. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, would you say that her motivation is kind of selfish-ish in a way?
Oh yeah, that's the whole point. Like, that's what she's learning. She's learning that in the midst of her seeking freedom, while it might be somewhat merited, she is only out for herself. And when she's only out for herself, other people get hurt along the way, which is kind of what her mother was trying to show her, that it wasn't all about her.
Yeah. Like even when her mom was gonna get was kneeling over when she ate the cake and she was like sick and she was about to hurl her guts out, all that Merida could talk about was about the marriage, about her stance on the
Mm-hmm.
marriage, and that kind of shows where her mindset is like. And even after Eleanor turned into a bear, she still deflected blame and just blamed the witch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, another thing about the witch, there is a theory out there that people believe that the witch is actually Boo from Monsters
Yeah, I've
Inc.
heard that.
Do you think it's real?
No.
No, you don't think so?
I mean, I think it's funny that people like to think that, but no, that's ridiculous.
That's true. I think the reason, one of the big reasons why is because Mike and Sully are shown in one of the carvings.
Yeah, but
Uh,
that's just an Easter egg.
that's just an Easter egg because this is Pixar we're talking about. They're like the
Yeah,
masters of Easter eggs.
they just like doing Easter eggs.
Yeah. So that theory probably doesn't have any merit to it. But
Nah.
what do you think about the witch in this film?
Oh, I love the witch's character. She's interesting, sort of like acting as a muse of sorts for Merida. She kind of like, she is kind of what turns everything upside down. But at the same time, she's kind of acting as a catalyst for Merida learning to let go of her own kind of like self-absorption and the
Mm-hmm.
consequences of that. And she's funny, but also kind of scary. I think I enjoyed her character a lot.
Yeah, it's actually kind of refreshing to see a witch character not be portrayed as a villain.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, and then there's also a scene like the Legend of Mordu that Eleanor told to Merida,
Yeah.
while she tries to convince her, like, "Hey, dude, you gotta not follow your own path, or else this will happen." Even though I think the story was a little, I don't think it kind of related to the situation that Merida's situation is. It
Well, I
loosely
mean, I
did.
think it directly reflected that because you had one prince going out on his own, seeking his own self-interest, and it ultimately destroyed the kingdom. And that's what Merida nearly did. She turned her mom into a bear, ran off. The clans were on the verge of tearing themselves apart once again. So she almost reverted her entire kingdom right back to where they started.
Right. So you think that the story directly parallels the main plot?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you think
More,
like, yeah,
yeah, more do reflect the worst of what Merida could have been.
right. So you think like Mordu was like the end road of what Merida was going down?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. So when the the when Eleanor was turned into a bear, that's basically the inciting incident of this entire film. And now we have our movie, like the main crutch of the movie was trying to break the spell. Uh,
Yeah.
and this is where Merida and Eleanor finally bond and finally get to see each other, uh, see eye to eye to each other, and Eleanor is forced to actually give up her like royalty likeness, her prim and
Mm-hmm.
properness, and like get in touch with her more wild side, like
Yeah.
Merida is. And so they kind of bond in that way, especially in the fishing montage scene. That's
Yeah, for sure.
that's like the biggest thing. So even though, do you think like that the relationship was able to grow even though Eleanor could not talk to Merida?
Yeah, for sure. That's
Hmm.
kind of that's definitely what was going on.
Yeah, you don't think that the lack of dialogue hindered that scene?
No, I don't think so. I mean, animated pieces have been telling stories without dialogue for ages. So, I mean, I thought it was fine. In a way, kind of their words were what was getting in the way of them listening to each other. So, I guess it kind of Eleanor had to listen to Merida, and Merida was being forced to kind of reconcile with what she had done.
Yeah. Oh, there's also like that scene in the Will of the Wisp where Merida was trying to tell Eleanor to like, hey, you gotta listen for them, and or
Hmm.
something like that. And then Eleanor was like, yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna walk in one direction, and then they end up finding the witch's house. And
Yeah.
so, uh, the so what do you think about the character of Fergus, who is the father?
Oh, I love him. He's great. He's a nice kind of, I guess. I definitely call him kind of like a comic relief, more or less. But yeah, he's a great character. I enjoyed him.
Mm-hmm. Like we know that Merida mostly relates to her father more than her mother in this film. Uh,
Yeah.
and it's also kind of symbolized with the fact that they both have the same hair color, and
Mhm.
Eleanor does not. She's black haired, so it's kind of like shown how their connection is more stronger in the film. Oh, speaking of hair, I know that Merida's hair was the most difficult part in the animation of this film.
Oh yeah. Originally, they wanted her to cut it midway through the movie just so they wouldn't have to animate it anymore or as much anymore. But they
Yeah.
left it in because it was just so visually stunning.
Yeah, and it was also like the symbol of her freedom and wildness.
Yeah,
That
for sure.
yeah, and uh, so there was also the characters of the triplets. Uh,
Mhm.
what did we think of them?
Oh, they were adorable. I loved them. They were very nice side characters. They brought much needed comic relief to the film.
Mm-hmm. And then they became like little bears,
Hmm.
little bears, and then I just opened up my wallet and said, Disney, give me all the stuffed bears. Take all my money. And then that's what I did. So so that this is a pretty interesting film. Would you find this film very relatable?
Oh, definitely, definitely for daughters and mothers, because I think there's always that disconnect to a certain extent between daughters and mothers. The daughters who feel like their mothers are just trying to ruin their lives and don't really, and because they won't let them do what they want, and then mothers who sometimes, maybe don't quite completely see their daughter's point of view just because there's that disconnect due to generations and whatnot. So I think it really brings out how both, and when it comes to relationships, you have to listen on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Like like they're both of the characters, both Merida and Eleanor, were both kind of in the wrong in this bit because they kind of refused to meet each other halfway,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, so and it's very nice to see how they were able to open up and communicate with each other and find that middle ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and also uh didn't don't they also have three sons, so why couldn't they do the marriage thing and let Merida go
Well,
off?
they were children,
Yeah, I
so
know,
that's
but we could.
probably why.
Yeah, I know, but we could wait a couple like 10 years.
Well, historically, women have always been used for that sort of thing. Men have been reserved for heirs and whatnot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're correct. So, also, what do you think about like the character of Mordu, like the bear Mordu, who would come out and be like, "Ah, I'm Mordu. I'm an evil bear."
Oh, he was an interesting enough character. It was interesting that they gave him a deeper backstory linked to the story at the beginning. But really, I think he's more of just a side conflict. The real conflict is the internal one between Merida and her mother. He kind of is just like an extra, like he's just an extra external force that's kind of like messing things up. But yeah, I mean, he's a big scary bear. I mean, what more to ask for?
Mm-hmm. So, and so that's pretty much that. Did Mordu, was he killed? I don't remember.
Yeah, they killed him at the end.
Oh no.
They threw a rock on top of him at the end.
Oh, that's right. Bear Eleanor killed him by
Eleanor did that, yeah.
yeah. So, and that's actually really cool because we finally see like the what like this the that's the archetype of the mother bear like
Yeah.
literally being shown because
Hmm.
it's a bear who is a mother and then she like attacked like this giant bear that was really scary, but at that point she really didn't care because all she saw was her daughter being in danger.
Yeah.
So that's actually really nice to see. That was one of my favorite parts of the film.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so what do you think about how Scotland was culturally depicted in this film?
Well, I don't know much about Scotland, so I wouldn't know if they did it accurately or not. I know that some of the guys coming over from Macintosh certainly looked a lot like the guys from Braveheart, but that's pretty much my extent of knowledge. I don't know much about Scottish Celtic culture, whatever you call that.
Yeah, me neither, but I know that I can tell like visually it's very beautiful to look at.
Yeah, for sure. It was really nice, and I think the Scottish accents just make it a little bit more fun.
Yeah, that's actually always enjoyable to listen to. Um,
Yeah.
and also, there's also the whole symbolism of the tapestry that they
Mhm.
need to like sew that up again because it's supposed to be the bond that's torn by pride. Ah,
Yeah.
well, no. So, and then also, Merida, uh, like when she cut it up, she said that, oh, you're not anything, you're a beast. Ah, symbolism, foreshadowing, and then she cut it
Yeah.
up. So that's fun to point out. Uh, so, um, anything else you'd like to say about this film?
I mean, I guess we could talk about the lords a little bit from the other clans. They were fun. I enjoyed them and their sons. They were interesting to watch.
Yeah, which one was your favorite character out of those three?
Oh, that'd be hard to say. They were all pretty funny. I think it'd either be the really short one who like flashed the other guys when his son hit the middle of the arrow, or it'd be the one with all the Braveheart paint because he was funny too. Just because they were the most antagonistic, they were funny.
Oh yeah, I did that. They're very interesting, and fun to watch. Definitely.
Yeah.
There was also this one scene that I didn't really understand, where Eleanor was saying that she wanted to give Merida all the things that she never had.
Mhm.
But I mean, wasn't she like? Isn't she like a queen? Isn't she like a royal? Isn't she royalty?
I think she's just kind of driving home that point that all parents want their kids to have it better than they did, regardless of what those circumstances might have been.
Hmm. Yeah, that does make it a lot more interesting. So,
Mhm.
how do you feel about the ending of this film?
Oh, it's wonderful. I liked it. It was a nice, happy ending. Everyone learned a lesson, and I loved it. I liked it. The family was reunited, and they sent the clans back, and all that jazz. So, I mean, I thought it was a nice ending.
Mm-hmm. Are we gonna see a Brave too?
I hope not. It was a nice ending. We don't need a sequel.
Okay. Uh, but she is actually one of like my favorite character to appear in Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Oh yeah, yeah. She was pretty funny in that, I guess.
Yeah. Except they were like, "Wow, we can't understand you because you have a Scottish accent," and everyone
Oh
was like,
yeah, that was
"Lol."
one of my favorite parts about the movie. That one son who was so Scottish you couldn't understand what he was saying.
Oh yeah, I. That is pretty funny. So, um, so that's pretty much it about Brave. Any final thoughts about it?
Go see it. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a great. Would you recommend it? Oh yeah, I think you just
Oh
did.
yeah, for sure.
So, what would you rate it?
I'd give it probably 9 out of 10.
Okay, a 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
That's pretty high. I'll probably give
yeah,
that as well too, because it's like the animation is very beautiful, the story is pretty really nice, and it is a really nice message. Like
yeah.
also like I know that I used to work for a radio no, a local TV station in Irving, and the film critic of that station, she hated Brave. She hated it with a passion. She can't say enough
Oh, that's
bad things
sad.
about it.
She's
Yeah.
missing out.
Yeah, I mean it's a really good film. And I remember I was like, wow, I didn't think it was that bad. I really liked it. And it deserved the Oscar that it won, and it's pretty awesome. So, do you think that that Merida is a pretty good role model for young girls?
I mean, I don't know if I'd call her the best role model since her whole character arc is kind of just about her learning not to be selfish. So I don't know if she'd be a great role model necessarily, but I think she acts as a good example of, I guess, what you should learn from her. Like her takeaway is important to learn, I suppose, for young girls.
Mm-hmm. And what is that takeaway?
I just mean, like, that it's great to seek your own freedom, but you also have to think about how your search for freedom impacts others. It's not all about you. Like her quest for herself kind of hurt other people when she wasn't thinking about how her actions impacted other people. So I think it's more like her takeaway is important to learn that the whole world doesn't revolve around her.
Right. And also, like, Eleanor did say that, oh, what is your freedom gonna cost? And that does kind of like highlight what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so this is another thing about this film is the whole idea about fate and subverting fate and all that kind of stuff. Like, I know this film is saying that um, this whole thing about destiny. Oh, what's your take on that?
I mean, I guess what they were trying to say was like your future's in your own hands, that kind of thing. Future is what you make of it. Maybe I don't know. It when they were saying fate, it didn't seem so much like they were referring to fate as much as your future.
Hmm. Yeah, that's probably it. Because I know, like, her thing is that her entire, like, Merida's entire life was planned out. And so I think it's also trying to say that, oh, that's your destiny is to be like, is to marrying and just be a part of like royalty and do diplomatic stuff. But you can always try to like avert that and be who what you want to do. That's not
Yeah,
that. Yeah, like choose your own
I
path.
guess. I guess it's kind of like the future is up to you or something. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what they're trying to say. Maybe that like your actions affect where you end up.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that there is going to be also you got to think about how your choices is going to affect other people around you.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Like even if you don't want to do like the whole diplomatic thing, I mean, but like you're a princess, that's your responsibility. You kind of have to do that, or else your entire kingdom is going to suffer.
yeah,
So like stuff like that. It's like two sides to a coin. You got to think about. So it's really nice to say that things are not always so straightforward, and that there's some like it's not everything is so black and white, and it's more complicated and not so like uh, on the surface.
yeah. I suppose so.
Yeah. So that's like that's Brave for you. It's a nice, complicated story, and it's a great film to watch on Mother's Day because it's a really nice mother daughter film, and it highlights such a how complicated and how nice such a relationship is.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see you guys next time. All right. Bye.
Bye.